You have a pair of shortens and retrogrades. Yo, parish orphans and retrogrades. The verdict is in on the annual, semi-annual, biannual American circus of race relations when a black guy kills a white guy because of his anger. So Austin Metcalf was a 17-year-old who was killed by Karmelo Anthony, not the star forward for the Denver Nuggets in the NBA, but a guy named Karmelo, also with a K, who killed Austin Metcalf at a track meet in Frisco, Texas, in Collin County, actually where Steph and I met, about a little over a year ago. And what had happened was Karmelo Anthony, wandered into, at a track meet, the opposing team's tent. The team asked him to leave. He didn't. They kind of put hands on him to usher him out. And he said, if you do that again, you'll see what I'm going to do. You're going to pay for it. See what happens, something like that. They tried to usher him out again. And he pulled out a knife, which he brought to a sporting event, because that's natural, right? That's what American blacks do, I guess, a lot of them. And stabbed Austin Metcalf in the heart, being survived by his father, Jeff, and Megan Metcalf, and his twin brother, who was there on the scene, Hunter. And it became a spectacle recently because we just got the results from the trial. And blacks, I don't mean all, but I mean most. That's the big question here. Blacks thought that finally the shoe was on the other foot. What you're seeing a lot of retards out there saying is, well, this is basically the shoe being on the other foot from, say, a Trayvon Martin situation, because Trayvon was killed as an act of self-defense. And that's what this is, right? Of course, that's not at all correct. We have some basic intelligence deficiencies in the particular people who are saying this, because that's not what this is. This doesn't qualify, and didn't qualify, legally speaking, for self-defense, which has elements of its own that must be proven at law. The verdict was handed down yesterday, a little after lunch. And of course, Karmelo Anthony was found guilty of murder, sentenced to 35 years in prison. After he was found guilty, he started crying. His mother asked for mercy. Can you give him a moment, maybe in between being condemned and being sentenced specifically? And the judge said, no, he is no longer a defendant. He is now a criminal at law, a murderer at law. And murderers do not get niceties like a minute to breathe. He didn't give it to Austin Metcalf, and that game is over. So this little sophistical game that we kind of have to play in the criminal law, funny, paradoxical, to even trained lawyers, you have to kind of treat them in this liminal nether region, nether space, while they're going through a criminal jury trial. And now that's over. And no, good for the judge. We hear it's the judge's last case before he retires. So maybe that helped to embolden him, the judge, to take a stand and say, no, you don't get any extra time. This opens up all kinds of interesting questions. What I want to call the black question, as we've dealt with things like the woman question, the Jewish question, this is the black question. It's what makes this a kind of perverse pageantry that we see yearly by yearly. It's a repeating pattern. Black guys do crime, do violent crime. Whites either apprehend them via citizen's arrest or catch them in the act or are just aggressed upon. And it's a thing that Americans in particular have to deal with. It's a question. It's an open question. It's the black question. What is to be done about these blacks? Now, my take is this. The portion of American blacks who are violent criminals or violent criminal adjacent, I'll define the latter in a second, is high enough to warrant being treated as a policy matter. It's high enough. It's not a little bit higher than Mexicans, Asians, or whites. It's a lot higher. So it's high enough to warrant being a policy matter, but it's low enough. It's not 99% of all blacks are violent criminals or violent criminal adjacent. If it was 99 or 99.9%, that wouldn't be low enough to be believable when you're talking to someone you actually tend to believe, and they say, "Hey, no, I have a black friend. He's a great dude." No, it's high enough to warrant requiring some policy matter, but low enough to be believable. And I would put that number, this is the central pillar, the first pillar in solving the black question. Give an honest number. What's the number of American blacks who are, and you would include the females in this as well, either violent criminals themselves, either convicted or just living a life of petty habituated criminality and just inculcating a hatred of norms, of Christian white norms. So it includes the women, the aunts, the grandmas, the whatever, whoever the hell's raising them. They're, third cousin twice removed, that 4 out of every 5 blacks are being raised by not their father and their mother, but maybe a mom, maybe a grandma, maybe a great uncle 7 times removed or whatever it is. They all make these same excuses. So I'm going to play you a few clips of excuse making because they're all deeply entrenched in a culture of criminality and what Aristotle would call general injustice. Particular justice is a virtue. General justice just means general lawfulness. General injustice, it's not a virtue. It just means a state of affairs. They're just an unruly, unlawful people. So I think the first question is, what's the real number? And I don't have necessarily the answer for you, but I think what no one does is given a real question, given a real answer to that real question. Everyone tends to try to be based and talk like a racist on the internet and say, oh, 99.9% of them they're all rotten. And that's not true. If that were true, then that number wouldn't be, the number of good ones wouldn't be low enough to be believable. It would be too low to be believable. It was like a real fluke. I'm friends with a 1 out of 100, black guy with heart of gold. It's not that low, but it's high enough to warrant being, in a crowd. You just can't try. Let's say it's 2/3 of them. Let's say it's 4 out of 5. Yeah, I put the number somewhere around there. 50 to 85% are generally criminals or criminal adjacent or kind of flirting with being a criminal. Would kind of aid and abet a more criminal friend in the group, help them escape if they knifed you in the stomach, help them sneak out of the city, whatever. I would say it's more than 50%. And so this makes the black question interesting, and I'm going to try to kind of answer it. What's the actual solution? And if you don't believe me, because I'm not trying to be based or cutting edge, I just don't hear anyone saying it like this. If it were just, 15%, the ones that have been caught and convicted of the crimes, That would be a little different. That's like 1 in 7. That's still sky high, by the way. It's like 1 in 7, 1 in 6 are convicted of actual petite violent crimes, to very violent crimes. It's asinine. But that's a lot of them have gotten away with a lot of shit. And then they have all their buddies that are helping them, and their families, their grannies who raised them, their great aunts that are just making excuses for them, like the lady that was on the screen. So you take that whole number, and it's somewhere between 50 and 85%. But that's not 99, and that's what sets this whole thing up. So we're going to go through that. We're also going to go through just turning back for a brief moment to the Down syndrome issue. Steph had a kind of funny observation about Down syndrome people who are prejudiced against. Society's generally prejudiced against them because they have debilities and they're not independent, they're dependent. And there's a funny analogy that turns out favorably for Down syndrome people and unfavorably for American blacks here. I want to talk about IQ issues. I want to talk about Austin Metcalf's father. And I want to talk about what I think the solution to the BQ is. And then in the reason, and all this is kind of woven together like a tight tapestry, because there on this one, there have been some good black replies on the internet. Now it's well under half the replies you see, but particularly on the internet, you're seeing some black men that are like, this is BS, man. I want to play some of those. And then looming in the back of all this is what happened at the NBA Finals. That's the championship for those dorks out there that don't know. Game 3, 2 nights ago in New York at Madison Square Garden in a widespread way. The few Spurs fans who showed up to the game rooting for their team were getting beaten up badly. Some of them within an inch of their life getting curb stomped just for wearing a Victor Wembanyama jersey, a Spurs jersey. And of course, those were all blacks too, engaging in that. And in 15 minutes time from now, we have game 4 also at Madison Square Garden. And essentially, you had a riot nearly break out in uptown Manhattan. Or wherever, yeah, that's where Madison Square Garden is, right? 2 nights ago, and another one could break out tonight, particularly given the verdict which came in yesterday. So what is going on with these crazy American blacks? Do you have that video? Can you guys see that, Steffi? I just want to I want to be real with you guys. Jumping around everywhere. Yeah, the jumping. I want to be real. This is the opposite of trying to be based. This is just going to be common sense. No one ever names the number. Take your best guess. I'll tell you how I substantiate my guess. How I tell who's criminal or criminal.
As well, in this case, that it was not a case about race, but you cannot deny that just the facts of the case and what we've seen play out since then and what we're happening now is because the defendant is black.
What is going on there?
Yeah, so I mean, a lot of them are just retards, you know. And some IQ stats say as low as average IQ of 68. A lot of them are in the 70s. Some other ones say in the 80s, but well under what's called mentally retarded. That's like an average. Then you have to ask what's going on here. What was your joke, Steph? You said like the Down syndrome community. What are 3 of their markers?
Well,
socially?
They were saying people that were pro-abortion, particularly for wiping out Down syndrome people. Their argument was that they have low IQ, they can't take care of their own kids, they can't hold down a job, and that they will end up needing government assistance. And I was just like, well, that's like 90% of blacks too.
Yeah, careful.
Like, are you serious?
Careful. Do we want to go there? Now, we are going to wrap up the show talking about what it might be. Is it integration or segregation? And what I say might surprise some of you or offend some of you, but I'm going to talk about it in real down to earth terms. And it's funny. You got to be careful. Even I'm not talking about your immortal soul. What you say about mentally retarded people or Down syndrome people, forget the fact that it's really immoral to talk about them the way that the left talks about them. We've been doing shows on that recently because of the internet outcry with the couple who aborted their Down syndrome baby because it was Down syndrome. But careful about what you say if you're a lefty, because you probably are a white liberal who is black adjacent. And you like things like affirmative action, and you like things like, affirmative action hires, DEI hires. You like saying black people are, there's no racial issue here. There's no IQ issue. There's nothing going on. Well, the statistics say otherwise. Department of Stats, they're devastating. And like Steph said, yeah, can't care for your own kids, can't care for yourself on government assistance. Those are not even the worst. The worst things about the black community are the danger to others. Danger to self or your kids is one thing, but danger to others is like something that doesn't even exist in the Down syndrome community. So I would just say to liberals, before we get going, you really want to tread lightly when you start talking up eugenics, because if you're a lefty who loves eugenics, odds are most of you eugenicists out there tend to be on the secular humanist kind of side of things. And you might not want to apply all the de rigueur implications and entailments of your reasoning to the black community.
Yeah, because if we're going to judge the value of a human life by their accomplishments or what they're capable of or their intelligence or what they offer to society, then
doesn't fare well for
it doesn't fare well for anyone other than Caucasians or Asians. You know what I mean? So I don't understand the argument that they were making with aborting children with Down syndrome by saying that they don't offer these things to society. And I'm thinking to myself, I was like, well, if we're going to make that the argument, then a lot of the quote unquote brown races, they don't do that much either. Well, so it's like, excuse me, but I think that all life is precious and valuable, regardless of whether or not you're on government assistance or if you have low IQ.
We got to stick as a society to all of these downstream elements of Christianity, even if the secular humanists have stripped away the actual Christianity in earnest. You don't want to get too far away from the Christian element of every person has dignity, because once you do, you're not going to like where it goes, fella. Tonight's show is brought to you by Real Estate for Life. Go to www.realestateforlife.org. and they will help you get out of your blue state and get to a red state today. Get to a state that doesn't have a city with 1 million people. Mississippi's biggest city is like 140K. That's one of the main reasons we came here. We just live in a giant forest state with little tiny cities. A few cities of 50, 60, 70K. One of 6-figured people, citizens. Only one. It's delightful. www.realestateforlife.org. Also, we are going to open up a new cohort of marital coaching. And the first one went really well. We kind of do it at summer. And so reach out to me if you were one of the spillovers that we couldn't get to last summer with the 3-month marital coaching program. It's Steph and I. And it went extremely well with the cohort we took. We'll take 7, 8, maybe 9 at a time. Reach out on my email, timothyjgordon@timothyjgordon.com. Okay, so what I want to do, I'll just play the prosecutor's statement. It's a little bit tame, but I want to get to some things that Austin Metcalf, the decedent's father, said that I actually am not a fan of. And God bless the whole Metcalf family. I'm sorry for them. I'm very sorry for their loss. But in terms of addressing the BQ, we got to do better. When you got a big megaphone, a giant megaphone, and the whole country's listening, and you have that plot armor that a victim's family enjoys for a year or two after the horrible crime, it's your responsibility to say the right thing. And I don't like what Metcalf's dad said. But first, let's just hear what the prosecutor said.
Someone ready to speak to the cameras. I'm not exactly sure who that might be. Do we know who it is, or can we at least bring up the picture that shows who might be ready to speak to reporters there inside the Collin County Courthouse? Let's see. Okay.
As the process worked. And today, the process delivered accountability. We are grateful to this jury, and we are grateful that the good citizens of Collin County had an opportunity to weigh in on this case. I'm proud of the exceptional work of Bill Werski and our team of prosecutors, DA investigators, and victim advocates, and all the good and outstanding men and women of the Collin County District Attorney's Office. We thank all the parents and their brave kids who did the right thing. Despite the trauma of witnessing the senseless murder at a school track meet, they cooperated fully and testified truthfully. Their courage was essential to securing justice in this case.
All right. Whatever. Come on. Get on with
I'm
it.
especially honored to be joined here today by Jeff and Megan Metcalf and their son Hunter. Their strength and grace through this has been their strength and grace throughout this unimaginable journey has been inspiring. They won't be taking questions at this time, but their presence here speaks volumes about their commitment to seeking justice for Austin. I want to thank Judge Rhodes for presiding over this trial with fairness and efficiency. I want to thank Frisco PD for their investigation. I want to thank the Collin County Sheriff's Office led by Sheriff Skinner for providing the security for the courthouse. I want to thank all law enforcement throughout the county for making this a safe trial for everyone. This verdict sends a clear message. Violence like this won't be tolerated in our Collin County community, and we remain committed to protecting our schools and standing with victims and their families. Thank you.
Okay, so I was wishing that there had actually been a statement audible by Austin Metcalf's dad, Jeff. Here's what he said. Here's actually what he said that I think is frustrating, because it contradicts that message that the county council just intoned. This is not going to be tolerated at sporting events. You remember he's on the winning team. It's Pi versus Delta. It's prosecution versus defendant. He's just saying, "Oh, thank you for everyone turning in a good verdict." It's just a way of patting himself on the back. It's fine. Everyone does it. But you didn't send any message. For one thing, 35 years in prison for taking someone's life is a joke, especially given the fact that this kid will be paroled halfway through that, 17.5 years. But it's especially impotent when you have the victim's father saying this. We were robbed. He's addressing Karmelo. We were robbed. Don't look down of all these things. I guess he's just listed off some virtues of Austin Metcalf, the decedent. I said from day one, this was never about race. Please don't politicize it. But what you chose to do was both. It's about right and wrong. We're all humans. We all bleed the same color. Oh. You're free. You see, this is just gay. You're free to make choices all you want, but you're not free from those consequences. You will face those consequences starting today. People think that grief is sadness, but it's not. It's rage, pure unfiltered rage. If it's really, I'll pause here. If it's really rage, why is he not saying more, colorful stuff? Right? I'm not saying that that's necessarily would even be good, but how come this is so politically correct? This is like a white guy victim's father that gets stabbed in a Disney movie. What's that one? Remember the Titans. This is like a Disney movie. White guy gets stabbed by a blackie guy. Disney response where he's saying all the right post-war consensus, Jewish white liberal things that they think should be said, and they've programmed normies to say. This doesn't sound like rage. It sounds like you're saying all the politically correct post-war consensus bullshit. He says a little more. I'll go on, but I want to recap some of these. This was never about race. Don't politicize it. It's about race. Your son is dead because of race. I'll tell you what my response would have been. And race is always political, especially in America. So that's not what Austin or whatever his name is, Karmelo Anthony did. That's just what it is. He stabbed your son in the heart because of race. So it's tough. It's a tough look. It's tough optics. It's a bit of a tough call to have to take after the father of the decedent, because that's a really bum rap. But he's had a year to get over it, A. And B, whether you like it or not, you're a man. You're the leader of a family. You're the paterfamilias. You have to say the right thing in honor of your son, and in more important than even honoring your son's memory, because of principle. Men, on principle, we have to say the right thing. And this is a big opportunity, and you whiffed, man. Say this bullshit about it's not about race. You sound like every other moron has sounded since the civil rights movement. People think that grief is sadness, but it's not, it's rage. You know what it reminds me of, Steph? I always hear these white parents saying this Disney parent of the white victim nonsense. It reminds me of when I watched Shark Week on Discovery Channel.
Oh yeah, no, exactly.
And it's like a dude that got his leg ripped off by a shark. And I don't know what the F Discovery Channel is threatening these people with. Maybe they don't get paid if they say, yeah, I'm going to go out there. I'm going to start hunting shark. I'm going to kill some shark. That's me, man. You take my leg. You don't even have to take my leg.
They always say,
you're a shark. I want to kill you. You're my enemy. But they always say, what do they say? I respect it.
I was in his environment, man. Like, I respect the shark. It's
What's
like,
wrong with
shark
you?
Bit off my leg. I'd want to shoot it in the eyeball with like a laser beam.
No, you want to cut. You want to get it. You want to torture it. You know, the shark, you want to find it. You want to build a little torture tank in your backyard. I'm going to find this, you know, like Happy Gilmore with the crocodile that got Chubb's arm or hand. I ripped his eyeball out for you, man. That's what you want to get. That's what a man does. Okay. So every time, it's not really a thing anymore. When we used to watch Shark Week, it was part of our white trashiness. We used to watch Shark Week when I was in law school. And every time Steph and I would just be cussing at the screen. You're not a man. If a shark bites off any part of your body and you say, I respect it. He didn't mean me any harm, the shark. I was in his territory. I deserved it. What kind of Western self-loathing psyop is this shit? It's unbelievable. And that's what this felt like to me. People, this isn't about race. You better bet your bottom dollar this is about race. There, Blackie. And you know, I'd probably say some other thing. But why would the guy it's pure unfiltered rage, why is he not saying ragey shit then, man? I know what rage sounds like. I got an ear for it. It's not particularly hard to spot. This doesn't sound like rage. This sounds like the psyop we've been hearing since I don't know, the civil rights began. Nothing's about race. It's never about race. Yes, it is. Here's what he tells him also. He goes on. You failed your parents. Are his parents together? You can't really say that if you're from a broken home. You failed your parents, you failed yourself, and you failed society. You don't belong in this community, he says to Karmelo. You're going to prison. You can't even look me in the eyes right now, but you can stab my effing son in the heart. Look, I know he lost his son. Prayers to the Metcalf family. I'm sorry for him. I'm one of those sailors. You come across me if you're saying the wrong thing, unless it's a day after you lost your son, I'm not cutting you any slack. This is a shitty statement. This is bad. This is dumb. He said, you can't look me in the eye, but you can stab my son in the heart. What does that even mean? What? Well, he's not going to look you in the eye. Have you ever met like these thug black guys? I used to play basketball with them, right? Some of them are good. Some of them are bad. But they're not going to, they're looking down, mumbling. He probably wasn't looking your son in the eye when he stabbed him in the heart either. I don't even know what your statement meant. So this is what I said on Twitter. I'm awfully sorry for your loss, sir. But this was always about race from the very beginning. Your son is dead today because of his race and because the majority, not all, but well over half of blacks are lethally dumb, hateful, and violent. which, by the way, is why most of them instinctively side with Karmelo. It's even why they have dumb names like Karmelo. It's just a fact. They're lethally dumb, hateful, violent. Not all of them, right? But the ones that are criminal or criminal adjacent are, and that's the BQ, 55, 65, 75, 85%. I don't know the exact number, but I'll substantiate it in a sec. Imagine, sir, how your sons were forced to live amongst the dangerous Jurassic Park animals under pain of exile for decrying the danger, right? If your sons would have been like, Dad, I don't want to go to school with guys like this, you know, you probably would have been, judging by your little speech, you probably would have been up in his grill saying, oh, don't talk that way, son. Go along to get along. Yeah, I didn't raise you to talk like that. Well, your son's dead because of race, because of his race being white. And I know he sounds like a good kid, 4.0 GPA, good athlete, good student, looked like a upstanding guy. You can tell a lot by looking at people. I judge books by the covers all the time. I don't know. He seemed pretty good or better. And his race counted against him. And Karmelo's race counts against us thinking that he's too reformable, likely. I also said this: race and forced progressive integration killed your son. As a 100% intended part, a feature, not a bug, of the post-war consensus from roughly 1948 to 1968, led by Jews and complicit white liberals. Your son was hit by a bus, and you think it was by a runaway spaceship to listen to you. I'm sincerely sorry for your family, but you're hard to listen to. Complicity with the artificial consensus about race, that all normies, all NPCs out in the burbs like you, who would shame your sons for saying, I don't want to go to school with these black guys. He makes you sound as unreasonable as a hippie. You probably think you're a conservative Frisco, Texas family. You're not. If you buy this consensus about race, the civil rights movement generated as a psyop, as a mass psychosis event. Race is at center here, and young whites are no longer down with the post-war lie that you just repeated. You expressed it in full in your little statement. You thought it was rage sounding and kind of badass, and it just sounded like every other dumbass, dead-eyed normie out in the burbs. White people that don't really know what to think about this or any controversial issue. Just ask Austin's twin, Hunter. I'll bet I have some hope for that guy. He should have stopped you from making this hopelessly desultory, quixotic statement, an otherwise meaningless relic of a bygone age. And I know people out there are like, look, man, he lost his son. I get it. I already told you I get it. I'm not saying to shun this guy from society. I'm just saying I'm sick of the Shark Week victims not sounding actually rageful. There would be a righteous anger in that if they're like, man, I went out there. You couldn't get me on the ocean again except for one motivant, but for one cause: finding the shark that took my leg, and I was going to torture him and kill him and eat his heart. I want to see that Shark Week. I want to see a Shark Week as reparation for all of the shitty Shark Weeks we've seen with politically correct shark victims that say things like, oh, he's really a hero. He's majestic. I respect nature. And just go, I'm going to roast his heart on a spit. You know, has anybody else ever noticed that? I think they literally tell you, we'll interview you and we'll pay you, shark victim guy, surfer guy, kayaker lady. But if you say anything negative about that shark that tore you in half, then we're not going to pay you. I think they're saying that because I don't know how you get all these other cucks, shark cucks, to not sound genuinely rage-filled. So the real question is, and I mean this not to sound edgy or based or anything, I mean, when you have a large enough minority of blacks, American blacks, that it's completely believable when I, who spent my whole youth playing in basketball gyms, summers, multiple summer camps, playing AAU leagues, playing, diocesan leagues, playing PSA leagues, playing year-round basketball. When I'm not in a league, I'm in some, I spent a lot of time in South Dallas gyms, North Plano gyms, Frisco gyms. I played in these places. Garland gyms, outdoor courts, find where the good games are. Always blacks if you want to play in a good game. I spent time around these guys, and there's a large enough minority of American blacks, whatever it is, 15, 20, 25, maybe 30, maybe 35% that are good guys, good ladies, or decent anyway. I'm not trying to kiss anyone's ass. I'm just saying it's not like 1%, like hooker with a heart of gold. Yeah, I mean, 99%, the way common parlance works is 99% is really 100%, right? So I'm not saying it's 99%, but the number of bad blacks is high enough to warrant us needing some sort of policy, some sort of program with 2 M's and an E, to warrant being a policy matter. And we still don't have the political capital as a people to do what's necessary. And I don't mean any kind of crazy, kooky ethnic cleanse or anything like that. That's not how I roll. But you know how I know for a fact? Because Austin Metcalf's dad, Jeff, has every reason to sound like that. He's a Texan. He's from Collin County. They're well enough to do. I know Frisco. This is like near our community. Steph's mom lives within a few miles of where all this was going on. And we lived in Plano. That's where Steph and I met. Hung out in North Dallas. Played b-ball here. Track athletes are often crossover basketball athletes. This could have been me. This could have been my friend Scott at a track meet. My young friend Scott. This could have been a lot of the young guys that I coached. A lot of the young guys that I taught. Me or some of my friends. And I would have been the guys like, hey man, you got to get out. Because I'm never shy. And he got a knife in the heart. And his dad, who has every reason to, and every kind of excuse to sound like the harder edged white guy from the burbs that sounds a little bit less like a dead-eyed suburbanite normie, didn't even take that. Didn't even take the excuse. Take occasion to tell him what's up. I'm going to tell you what's really up with the black question. Instead, it's coming from me. It's coming from, guess the same sources. Where you're hearing from Joel Webbin or Tim Gordon or Nick Fuentes or the truly dissident right people that are trying to be base. But I think you get a moderate, honest response from a guy like me or Joel Webbin or Nick Fuentes. No one's trying to be cutting edge, right? With any of this stuff, with the woman question, I'm not one of these guys. It's like everyone's right. I happen to be married to the best woman on the planet. So I have a kind that colors your perception, outlook of women, even though I make fun of them all the time. Same thing with the JQ. I know there's exceptions to every rule. The black question is really interesting because it's not even like a 99% thing. I know for a fact from some of my friends, brothers from other mothers. I was joking earlier before the show, brother from a chocolate-colored mother or vanilla-colored mother. I have some homies that I would trust with my life. And so it makes it a really sticky thing, but no one ever says the number. Well, yeah, but what do you do with 2/3 or 3/4 of them are criminal or criminal adjacent? And the reason the basis for my substantiation of that being higher than 50%, is look at the OJ polling in 1995. What of all the quite scientific polling data that they polled for American blacks, who thinks OJ should get away with it? 78%. We're working with those numbers. 4 out of 5. Between 3 out of 4 and 4 out of 5, if we're being precise. But that's not, so as a policy matter, now we got to get to how I think you solve the BQ. You got to revisit this whole integration segregation issue. You can guess where I'm at on that. And this is not me trying to be based or cutting edge, edgelord, not at all. Because I just admitted, let's say it's 78%, the OJ number, because that's pretty good data. It's relatively recent. And you're seeing all over the internet, lots of ordinary blacks that haven't knifed someone in the heart think that Karmelo should have been able to knife him in the heart. So you know it's true. Let's say 4 out of 5. Well, when you can't go around 4 out of every 5 blacks because they are either heart knifers or heart knife adjacent, then we really can't be in public together because there's no way to check or to control or to govern the odds. You're just rolling the dice if you take yourself or your family into an American city. American cities are shitholes, first off, as someone that, studied at pontifical universities in Rome. It's like, man, you can walk around Rome. It's just beautiful. American cities are ugly. They're butt ugly. Unfortunately, all the infrastructure was made by Puritan Protestants and kind of post-Enlightenment neo-secularists. So it's a kind of ugly place. The cities aren't cool. The skyscrapers, I think, are shitty looking, but that's not the worst of it. The worst is you're taking your life into your hands. Why? Because if 4 out of 5 blacks are stab you in the heart or stab you in the heart excuse makers, then there's simply no way you can say, yeah, no, I'm really secure. I take my family into New York or LA or Chicago or Detroit or Washington, D.C. or Atlanta or any of these cities. We even do it for the New Orleans Latin Mass. And I'm like, Steph was looking at some numbers, watching a show on Netflix about New Orleans crime, a lot of random stabbings on the street you just can't do it and claim you're a family protecting family man. You can't do it. It's irresponsible to have this kind of integration. So when we're talking integration, segregation, we're not talking about it's illegal to have my buddy Kenny, who's like a brother to me, who I would trust with my life, and his family stay with me for a week, a month, a year. I would give this guy the shirt off my back, my buddy Kenny. This is a brother I love. And that's not to the white guy saying I have black friends. I'm substantiating the numbers and the idiosyncrasy of American blacks being as a whole, as a collective, so terrible that you're dealing with 78% that are pro-murder. And also, like, somewhere along the order of 75 to 80% that have actively had an abortion, if you're talking about Manhattan blacks. That means just through the roof. So it's a really idiosyncratic number. Not 99%, but it's not like twice the crime rate of Chinese guys, American Chinese guys. Is like through the roof. It's a huge portion of them that are just super dangerous. So you have to say, at a policy level, why did we have integration? Oh, this was forced on us as part of the post-war consensus. Build Israel, make a new America, make it this horrific one-worlder satanic place to live after 1948. And that's what they did. So there are IQ issues. Some studies show as low as 68 average IQ. A relative suggested this. I'd never thought of it. This could be a lot of inbreeding problems related to you can look at other polls showing the average age of first sexual encounter in the black community is some places say 9 or 10. Other polls show 11 or 12. Some polls show 9 or 10. And they don't ever go anywhere, right? They live in the projects or whatever. And they are just these guys starting at, let's say, 10, 11. They're going around laying pipe, impregnating chicks. They're just not expected to have families. The only human beings you'll ever meet that aren't expected to have families. You heard Austin's dad saying you've let your family down. You can't let your family down. They don't even have families. They're raised by like a grandmammy. What the fuck is that even? It's impossible to let your family down when you don't have a family. You don't come from you come from a man's seed and a woman's egg, but they've given up on family. American blacks. It's absurd. But the problem is literally what I think is driving the average IQ down somewhat, maybe, is there's a lot of inbreeding that's happening. When you start a population in the projects that's semi-insular, it's inner city, but it's also kind of insular, your little neighborhood of inner city, and every guy is having sex with every girl through the generations, the way they've been doing this since LBJ's Great Society. That's when the sex numbers got really bad for blacks in the out of wedlock birth. Then you don't know who's breeding with blood relative, brothers and sisters breeding. Plato talks about this in Book 5 of the Republic. What if we create this little insulated society of the guardian class? Aren't we going to have brothers and we take away kids from parents? Aren't we going to have brothers and sisters breeding? And Plato's like, well, that's fine. Plato's gross, right? Plato's like, that's fine because it's a shallow gene pool, but they're good genes. Well, that's not what we have here. These are not good genes. I ain't no eugenicist. I'm against it all the way. But these are not good genes, and this is probably what's driving IQ down. It bears mention. I'll say that. We have some videos of reassuring black videos.
Did you also want to play some of the reaction?
Yeah, play some of the funny stuff.
Okay, so this one was really funny. I'm sorry that I just had it on the screen, but you got the Patrick Starfish one.
Yeah,
is so
because the lady looks just like that. I mean, come on.
What do you want us to do? What do you want us to do at this point? What? I'm lost for it. I don't know what to do. I got 5 boys. I don't know what. I ain't got nothing to tell them no more. You can't walk away no more.
No, Mo. So look. Can you get the one with the woman now? Do
you want to answer that mother, that black mother? What is she? She used to
have a hoe, but she's not her hoe no mo. Like Michael Scott said, she don't know what to tell her hoe no mo. She didn't know what to tell her boys no mo. Well, here's 2 things. I was saying this to my locals before we went live. It's nice to have a triple. Here's 3 things to do to start saving money today. Here's 2 things that you can tell your 5 sons any mo. I wish I had mo than 5, but I only have 5, and it's not low. I only have 2, but you're going to spread them around to your 5 sons. Number 1, don't carry weapons. Don't carry weapons, especially to sporting events. In like a duffel bag, you need athletic shoes. They're black, so they're probably going to wear slides, a towel, water bottle. You don't need a knife. Don't even need one. Don't bring that knife. Don't bring it in, and definitely don't bring your knife to. If you get into a little scuffle, you don't need a knife. Right? These are all kids that are kind of disarmed at a sporting event. If no one has a knife, then even if you get in a little tussle, about to go watch the Knicks game, the fans are beating the hell out of each other. The players in playoff basketball play hard, get into little scuffles. Imagine if someone just had a knife. If Jalen Brunson just ripped out a knife because Wembanyama.
There was that funny SNL with Steve Martin where it was like the NFL guy, the gun. The gun, where he just like brings the gun out on the thing.
The gun is his nickname, and he actually brings a gun out on the. I'm glad you brought that up. That's funny. Okay, so that's the first thing that you can tell to your 5 sons any mo. I'm sure they're all fathered by the same gentleman. I would bet none dollars on it, ma'am. Do we have a picture of the actual woman? You're getting the gun. And the second thing I would say is you have to stop allowing your 9-year-olds
here we go.
to have sex. You got to tell your sons to keep their wieners in their pants. All right? At 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, all the way through teenagehood to marriage. Tell your sons to put their wieners in their pants. And then I guess if we want to triple, the third thing that's related to the wieners in the pants is sex is for marriage, and marriage is forever. You got to go. A lot of these people have the gospel. They're kind of gospel blacks. You can't skip over that part. You're not allowed to get divorces. Marriage is for life. Carmelo Anthony's parents. I'm surprised if a black couple is ever married at all. But those are three things right now. You can tell your sons any mo for show. You can tell them,
Don't be a hoe.
don't you tell your girls, don't be a hoe for show, but don't have a weapon, no mo. Don't keep your wiener in your pants if you're a man, or if you're a woman, and marriage is for life. And that'll solve a lot of your problems. Now, the average IQ is still low. Maybe it'll take a bump up once you stop the potential inbreeding there in the projects. These are real things. And just say, walk away from a fight. Or even if you don't walk away from a fight, you don't have to be a gay pacifist about it. You got these things, man. These young men need to know how to use their fists. I got no problem with working it out physically. That's the best way to work stuff out sometimes. But it ends here. They try to throw you out the tent. You get into a wrestling match. Maybe a punch or two is thrown. That's fine. That's not a big deal. You become friends later. Every real dude, every real nigga out there knows you become friends with the guy that you fought, and you fought hard. It happens every time. Most times. I got no problem with fighting, but you can't knife or gun someone down. What is that? Or do we have the gun?
The gun.
So ridiculous.
To illustrate what you're talking about here. SNL did a skit on this.
So I mean,
this was an SNL skit because it's absurd
because
that anybody would bring a weapon onto to a sporting event.
It is.
It was an action. I mean, if SNL is covering it, it just shows the absurdity of the entire situation. Like, why did this kid have a knife with him?
Yeah, the absurdity of black culture. The absurdity of black culture is happening right now. We're about a quarter of the way through the Knicks game. I'm looking for scores here. And the Knicks fans were beating the hell out of doing that black inner city shit, the curb stomp. They were doing that to Spurs fans walking away from Madison Square Garden in game 3. There's going to be more of it tonight if the Spurs get another win. It's absurd. And so does this have to do with race? Does this have to do with the BQ, the black question? Of course. It has everything to do with it.
Here's the Knicks on the screen now. All this. Look at that.
I mean, it's you can't. If you don't laugh, you cry. Do we have sound for that?
Yeah, I can put the sound on. I mean, but again, it's like this is why it's a lifestyle choice for you and I to segregate ourselves. That's our lifestyle choice. Like, we live in the woods in Mississippi, and our choice is to not go places where these people are at. That's my lifestyle choice because I want to live.
Yeah, I don't want to be around you. If there's some way that I have a mechanism of vetting, like my buddy Kenny, and we get through and we're Royce White. I mean, there's some just obvious, really smart guys, really virtuous guys, really talented guys. It's like, so you get, you become friends, and it's like a wink and a nod. But in the public setting, if there's no way to vet them, then we really just need to de-integrate. What did you call it earlier? I won't use the edgy S word that rhymes with integration, but we just need that. That's what we need. We need de-integration. What'd you call it? Just
sorting.
In public. Anyone can invite whoever they want into their own homes. That's what we would do if we wanted to solve the black question as a policy matter. If blacks wanted to solve the BQ, then they would do the 3 things I said earlier. No weapons, keep it in the pants. Marriage is for life. Keep it in the pants till marriage. Don't be a hoe, no mo.
It's remarkable to me that they don't have more motivation to solve this issue themselves, because they kill each other more than anybody.
Yeah.
It's like you think that they would take a snapshot of the lives that they're living and think, well, okay, we need to change something here. Like, it's not just leave aside the whole black and white thing. It's like they're killing each other all the time in these major cities, and nobody seems to be sensible enough to look at the situation and say, we don't want to live like this.
Yeah.
We don't want to live like animals. Like, we need to change things from within.
Yeah. We play the Disney song.
Oh, should we? Oh, yeah. Oh boy, we're just aching for some strikes here. Okay, here we go.
No, it's just a Disney song. It has nothing to do with the topic.
Wow, Disney.
Super bass. This has nothing to do with anything we're talking about, right? We couldn't apply it to anything here. That's from Pocahontas, not even dealing with the BQ. Dude, so who knows why we played that? Only time will tell. Do we have some now? There have been a few, again, well under 50% of the total Black population, if I had to guess, but had some good responses from some Black bros out there. There's this, yeah.
Which one do you want first?
Yeah, this guy's good. This guy with the cowboy hat, real nice looking gentleman. I'm not trying to kiss up to anybody, or I'm just not trying to be edgy. I'm just trying to say the truth out here. These guys are clearly, you can tell by looking at them, they're clearly in the good fifth, quarter, third, whatever it is.
Only Black people are at the point where they will feel sorry for the criminal and the murderer more than the actual person who's not with us anymore. The actual victim, they don't care about. Everyone feels sorry for this little monster. I never felt comfortable around you niggas, so I got the hell away from y'all. Y'all think this is a game, like, oh, you're just saying this for likes and clicks. No, I'm not even near you niggas. My kids don't go to school with you niggas. This ain't for likes. This is for real. Like growing up, when my friends would come over, hey, my dad would check them at the door. Listen, man, you gotta take that do-rag off. This do-rag ain't allowed here. My dad didn't like do-rags. Because he watches the news. He see who's doing the killing. Take that do-rag off before you come over. And that's all, like, and when I was a kid, I didn't understand. I'm like,
he tells a little story here.
What's going on with Dad, Mom? Why is he tripping? Why is he embarrassing me? My mom sat me down and told me a story. Listen, your dad's seen a lot of things. What do you mean, Mom? What happened? I never told you this, and don't tell your father I told you, but when we were young, we used to party at your dad's house, when we were 16, and his brother had just come home from the military. His brother was older, your father looked up to him. He was kind of the protector of the home. He was just a great guy. Just came home from the military. And they threw a party for him. Everybody celebrating downstairs. What happens? A knock on the door. My father's brother goes up the stairs, opens the door. What is it? A bunch of monsters. Do-rag wearing monsters. Yeah, we want to come to the party. My father's brother tells him, no, you're not allowed. Nobody else is allowed. We're going to just keep having this party and you guys are going to leave. What do? Oh, yeah? Put a gun to his head, shoot him in the head. He fall down the stairs, dies in front of my dad. My dad is traumatized by y'all. From that moment, man, he just didn't want nothing to do with you. He stayed in Brooklyn a little longer, seen more things happen, and then he got to them books. Yeah, I got to get out of here. I cannot raise a family here. It's not safe. It's a reason why people want to get away from y'all. They have an animalistic monster mentality. Nobody wants to be around. Shoot first, ask questions later. That's how y'all move. Y'all don't even fight no more. Ain't no hands, one-on-ones. Y'all just go straight to killing. Obviously, it's not all Black people. There's a lot of good Black people out there. There's a lot of monsters as well. And it's not hard to tell who's who. And that is exactly why Austin Metcalf didn't want that boy around.
Yeah. So, all right. This guy is 100% real. Very rarely do I agree with 100%. There's a lot of good let's say it's 30%, 20%, whatever. That 20% of millions, that's a lot. That's not 1%. So I agree. But what he said, what's he real with? There's a lot of monsters too. And he's like, Austin Metcalf doesn't want to be around him. I don't want to be around him. My dad couldn't be in Brooklyn. You can't raise a family. Don't bring your families into cities.
And how are we supposed to know? Like when I'm like out, like if you're at Target and I'm in the car alone and a Black guy is like walking by the car, of course I'm making sure my doors are locked.
Of course.
That's not my fault. That's their fault as a community about how horrible they're raising their kids. And how am I supposed to know that this is like you know, if we just look at the numbers, is this one of the 10% that are not violent, that aren't going to cause me harm or do something crazy? Or is this one of the ones that's part of the majority?
Right.
Like, I'm just going, I'm going to protect myself.
Right.
First and foremost.
That's the best. I mean, and that's it, that you could tell. But here's the thing. I'm going to contradict you a little bit. In a city, you can't squarely look at everyone's face. You could tell that guy's a good dude. You could tell athletic. You could tell by the way he talks. You can tell by the diction, the non-slurring. You can tell he's not high. The cowboy hat's kind of a call signal that he's not gangster. You could tell 7 seconds in, this was going to be a good message from a smart dude. Okay, they're out there. But when you go into a city, you're just surrounded by hundreds of people. You can't even look in the eye all of a sudden. You can't assort all of them. And even if you could tell which one's good, which one's bad, you're in the mix of hundreds of bad ones. Okay, can we get the James Harden looking guy?
Oh, sure. Let me find
Or this guy? That's fine.
Here we go. Let me pause him.
This guy's good.
Sorry, didn't have him queued up.
I just want to play some of these. I'm not giving one side of this. So these are, and I'm not kissing anybody's ass. This is why you don't say 99%, because 99% means all. There are a lot of these responses out there. It's just under half.
Even though this happened right up the road from me, initially I had little interest in speaking on the senseless murder of Austin Metcalf. Now that the verdict is in, I only want to chime in from a more cultural perspective, more specifically a parental one. The points I want to make are less about the verdict itself, and there are just two things that I want to get across. The first one is this. One of the greatest values that you can instill in your children is impulse control. A lot of young people seem totally unaware that no matter what they've accomplished, no matter how bright their future is, they are one very stupid decision away from throwing it all away.
Right.
This is a time preference issue.
Right.
They have to keep their future in mind instead of living in the moment and getting consumed by negative emotions and letting those emotions drive an irrational decision. The talent doesn't matter in that moment.
Just basic,
the grades
but smart,
don't matter.
right?
The scholarship, the potential, the plans you had laid out, none of it matters once the decision is made, because that kind of decision can't be taken back. Now, there are also those who have done nothing but burden their communities, one bad decision after another, off of zero impulse control. And in other words, they never really had
all right, that's good enough. So you want to
for them in the first place.
Obviously, good dude. You could tell within 6 seconds of someone talking, right? You could tell. It's impulse control. He's using the right term. He's explaining why it's important. He's explaining logistically what you have to tell your sons and daughters in different ways. Doesn't matter how smart you are, how good looking you are, how much talent you think you have or you actually do have, how much sports talent, whatever you want to go do in this world. As a teen, even as a man, but teens are more impervious to understanding time. You're one bad decision away from the grave. At all times. But especially when you go and you mix with more and more people the way teens like to. Okay. Who's the other guy? This guy's good. I just want to say there's whatever percent out there, a third, a fourth, a fifth, something like that. Maybe you said just a 10th. I don't know what the exact number is, but something around between a third and a 10th. Good dudes. It is not 1 out of a million or something. It's much higher than that. Let's play this guy.
You've heard about the situation that actually went down. Ignore everything you've heard from racist people going at Karmelo Anthony. Ignore everything you've heard about racist people saying this man should have died. I'm only going to be talking about facts from witnesses that were there, cops, a medical doctor, everybody that was involved during this case legally, that presented their case to the jury and the judge. And then you can make your decision. The prosecution.
We don't need to hear it all. He's just being honest and truthful and observing the basic dialectical rules of Western civilization. And he's like, look, it was a murder. It was just a murder. And there's all the evidence is on basically one side. He's he's not taking quite the stand that the other two guys took, but he's still is good enough for me. You could tell he's a decent human being. So you've seen more of this on the internet now. This is the little bit of light peeking through than you did with Michael Brown or Trayvon Martin. I'm seeing some positive movement on the internet, but it's not enough. We're going to see what happens after the Knicks game tonight, which is going on right now. If the Spurs get another win, I'm very interested to see, will there be more rioting, which is essentially what you had 2 nights ago, a violent rioting. It's the BQ, it's the black question, and everyone's been afraid to touch it. Boomers and Gen Xers think it's really scary to touch. I don't at all, but we're going to see how rapidly things change around. The Spurs are up by 13. Every single one of these games, all 4 of these games, they've gotten a hot start, and then they blew the lead later. But this is the 4th time they've gotten a good start, double-digit lead in the first quarter. Now they're up 15. If they can hold on to this, then we might have another New York riot. What do you guys think? Leave a comment in the com box. Let us know what you think. This is a real interesting question. We got the JQ, the WQ, the BQ, the latter weighing in what feels like momentously at this newest pageant, the Karmelo Anthony trial yesterday, and spilling over to today largely. So it happens. You know, it's annual, biannual, semi-annual. It happens. It happens a lot. It's a part of American life because the BQ is an unanswered question that boomers and Gen X, you know, after the civil rights movement, didn't want to say boo to. They didn't want to have an opinion. They didn't want to notice crime stats or IQ stats or baseline observational brute facts of life. They just close their eyes to and bequeath to us millennials and the Zoomers just this total like zoo. It's a zoo. If you send your kids to public school, even if you're in a nice suburb like Frisco, Texas, Collin County, Texas, Plano, Texas, because of forced integration, they're going to be dealing with one-sided racism. And guess what? You're sending them into Jurassic Park to play with dinosaurs. And if they even say something like, hey, it's dangerous, I don't want to go to school with these animals, they're under pain of exile. They're not even allowed to tell. You tell a average boomer that, left, right, or center, they're going to be like, I didn't raise you to talk like a racist. What? What are you talking about? These guys want to kill us. Play sports with them, be in the classroom with them, walk the halls with them. You can't. They're not civilized. I didn't raise you to do that. So it's like you're selling your kids out by not dealing with this. It's time to deal with it. And you've heard, I think what people will say it's extreme, but I think a real moderate response. Let me know what you think my response was like to the BQ in the comment section. I'm going to go watch the Knicks game and maybe the zoo level New York City antics afterwards. Everyone, I know you a bunch of you guys don't like sports ball or basketball, but root against the Knicks just for their animal fans acting the way they have, like barnyard animals. God bless you guys. God bless America. We need to get to solving not just the JQ, not just the WQ, but the BQ as well. These are the 3 big cultural issues here. Des Volt.